Hi, and welcome back to Everyday Pronunciation. This is Sherry Summers, and today I want to go over a few words that are kind of weird. They are the words irony, iron, environment, and environmental. So you're probably wondering why I think they're weird. If you look at the first word, irony, that's really not so weird. The word irony is stressed in the beginning, and then it has two weak syllables after it. Irony. And if it's really kind of a normal word, it begins with a long I, so it's like this, I. And then the O in here is reduced to a schwa, so we get r. And then we have our little ni at the end. Now, it doesn't have a schwa, but it has kind of this baby E sound. Ni. Irony. Irony. But if you look at the words below it, they have that I-R-O-N in them, but they don't sound like iron. Well, not usually anyway. If you look at the word I-R-O-N and listen to it, see what you hear. Iron. Iron. Now, is that what you would expect to hear? I would look at that word if I didn't know it and say, I run. I run. In fact, I think it sounds like I run, but it actually isn't that at all. It's not iron. Listen again. Iron. Iron. Doesn't it sound like the R is towards the end instead of in the beginning? It actually sounds like I. Okay, that's the same. But look. Earn. I, stressed, earn. It's almost like you're saying, I earn money, except the stress is in the beginning. It's a little bit more like I yearn because of the connection sound right here. So whether we're talking about something that gets wrinkles out of clothes, an iron, or a kind of metal, iron, or you need to take iron to keep your body healthy, your iron levels need to be high. It doesn't matter. They all sound the same. They sound like iron. Iron. Isn't that funny? That's kind of a strange, I'm sure in the beginning it probably was more similar to the spelling. The pronunciation probably matched the spelling at some time in the past, but it doesn't seem to do that anymore. But the words down below are the ones that confuse people the most, I think. They have this iron in them, in both of these, and we often do pronounce it the same as the word iron. So sometimes you do hear people say environment, environment, or environmental. But a lot of times they don't do that. And it probably is just a shift in the language, something that's going on. So if you say environment as it is spelled, you're not wrong. But you're going to hear a lot of people, especially these days, talking about climate change and whatnot, talking about the environment. See if you can hear it when people say that. So environment has a pattern like this. It's environment. That's actually a pretty normal pattern. The first syllable's weak, the second syllable strong, the third syllable's weak, the fourth syllable's weak. So ba-ba, ba-ba. And the stress here is the vi part, kind of that vi. So we'll write it as vi, vi, vi. The en is interesting. It is a weak syllable, so we would expect to hear a schwa, and we definitely do hear a schwa sometimes. But because it's an e and an unstressed syllable, we sometimes do hear an n, and sometimes even an in. You'll hear people say they'll say environment, they'll say environment, and they'll say environment and environment. So you can get all of those sounds out of that first part. But the stress is on vi. And again, just like iron, we come back to an earn. environ. You hear the connection with that little Y, and you get environ, and then we've got another weak syllable at the end. Environment. And to be honest, sometimes people don't even say the N. They just say environment, environment. So you'll hear it in different ways depending on who's saying it and when they're saying it. They might even say it differently at different times. But it is not usually environment. It's more often environment, environment. So what about if we put that AL on the end right there? Okay, the interesting thing about this is it actually shifts the stress. It's no longer on the vi, it's on the, well, let me say it. Let me say it and see if you can hear it. It's environmental, environmental, or I could say environmental. But a lot of people are dropping the T and saying environmental. So do you hear where the stress is? It's now on the men part. So we have a nice strong men. So men is where our primary stress is. The T is often dropped, so you end up almost with an extra N, or just hold that in and you get menal, menal. And then going backwards, we get the or earn, whichever one you want, and vi. Now, vi is a secondary stress, so it's not as strong as men, but it still gets some stress. You can hear the pure vowel in there. There's no schwa. There's nothing little. So it's environmental, or environmental, whichever one you prefer. And then, of course, that en at the beginning can be an N, or an in. So you can decide what you like, or you can mix and match them. It doesn't matter. So we get environmental, environmental, environmental. All right. So I don't know if that surprises you. In fact, if it does, go ahead and let me know in the comments area. I think it would be interesting to know how you have heard it before, or if you've been saying it this way, or if you've been saying it in a little bit different way. Let's go over all of these again, okay? So let's try each of them alone. Let's start with the first one, number 1. We have irony, 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 irony. Number 2, we no longer have the iron. We have iron, 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 iron. Pump some iron. Take some iron. Iron the clothes. Okay, iron. Number 3, we could say environment, but let's do it this more common way and say environment, environment. Now, I just noticed I used an N. It's perfectly okay. I'm going to try it with a schwa and say environment, environment. And by the way, that NT at the end of environment, that's a combination sound of the N and the T. You don't hear a really strong T in there. But the N is very short, and it makes up for the shortness of the T. So environment, environment. We need to talk more about the environment, the environment. What do you think about the environment? Okay, and then number 4, let's go ahead and shift the stress over to mental, or mental if you want. Often the T is dropped. So we get environmental, environmental, or environmental is all right. Environmental, environmental, environmental. Lots of people are talking about environmental changes, environmental problems, environmental, all kinds of things. You'll hear that in the news a lot. You're probably using it yourself quite a bit. So it may be a little different than you originally thought. I'm not sure. Again, let me know in the comments area what you think. Go ahead and record yourself if you like and put it in the comments area, and I'll try to come and comment back on how you're doing. So good luck with this. And as always, I hope that you practice it again and again and again and have a chance to use it really soon. Thanks, and see you again tomorrow.